Hello, everyone. Welcome to the We Know Nothing podcast, a podcast where we touch on all things Game of Thrones. This week, we're going to be talking about Season 7, Episode 1 and Season 7, Episode 2. With me today are...
My name is Nicholas Talan.
Mike Lehman.
And I'm your host, Nathan Talan. I mean, we should just jump right in here. What did you guys think overall of Episode 1?
Just because it was on a little hiatus for a little bit, it was definitely extra special to have Game of Thrones back on the television. Watching it live was something fresh and new. The opening scene was incredible. I loved it. What about you, Mike?
Remind me what happened in episode 1 again.
All right, let's just jump into the into the walkthrough through the episode.
Just give me the last scene and I'll know everything that's happened up to.
Dany's in Dragonstone.
Dany's in Dragonstone. I like it.
Okay. So it opens up with the cold open of Arya wearing Walder Frey's mask and just murders the entirety of House Frey.
That was good to see.
It's interesting, though, because I'm not entirely sure how the whole faceless man thing works.
Yeah.
It was just a mask this time. It wasn't even like a you wipe your face or a hand in front of your face. It was just I'm wearing a mask.
And then she also had like his voice and everything. And if you notice, he has like cloth around his hands. So what I think happens is she got the skin off of Walder Frey's hands and wore it, so that it would look like she has old hands.
Has she used the faceless man technique before?
Yeah, when she killed Walder Frey. Yeah.
She went really in depth with this one.
She didn't even want to use their talents in that one. She just wanted to wear his a Silence of the Lambs style.
Yeah, literally.
And I mean, do you think Arya's lost at this point, or do you think?
Yeah, I do, especially with what happened in episode 2 with her direwolf. She's definitely conflicted.
That was so sad.
Well, I think they did that just so they could avoid bumping up the CGI budget.
Yeah.
Broken up about it. But why did she say you're not? She said something like
she's delusional.
We'll touch on it when we get to episode 2. So after
my apologies.
After Arya completely massacres House Frey and says winter has come for House Frey,
the North remembers.
Yeah, all that stuff. We see the army of the dead walking.
That was my favorite shot of the season so far.
It's really good.
They have giants now.
They let it roll for about, what would you say, like 30, 35 seconds?
Longer. Yeah, it was a long one.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But something interesting is, do you think it was a vision? Because we see Bran come out of it.
I think it was, but I think it was like a live stream.
Right.
Bran was the live stream.
Not the future.
It wasn't the future. Bran was watching it happen.
Now hear me out. What if that was the army of the dead crossing the frozen thing to get around the wall?
There's a frozen thing to get around the wall?
Yeah, like the lake or the sea next to the wall.
That makes
frozen.
A lot of sense because with the wind they were kicking up, that's definitely a low, flat area.
Mm-hmm. And it was completely flat all around them, too.
And if you look in the intro, too, when they go to the wall with a little animation, to the east, there is a difference now. It's like a fog instead of it just being 100% clear.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting to look at, too. So.
And then,
but yeah, they're marching. That's not even a question, right? They're marching south. So
yeah, but do you think this is like currently happening, or do you think Bran was seeing them march across the frozen?
No,
I think it's
it's currently happening.
Okay. And then Bran just shows up at the wall, says a bunch of creepy stuff to Ed, and he lets him in.
Winter has come. Winter is no longer coming. It has come.
Yeah. It's 100% winter. It may have not came to King's Landing yet or anything like that.
It's probably cooling down. It's probably in the 70s.
Okay. Guys,
not the 90s.
Global warming in Westeros is a hoax perpetrated by the Narakis. Are those that a people?
Sure.
It should be.
Do we think Bran is... How long is it going to take him to get to Winterfell?
Well, he can't walk, so a decent amount.
Well, I mean, yeah, Mira needs a break because and then it takes 2 Night's Watch people to bring him in.
What does she get out of this?
Her brother, like, she's needed.
Jojen sucks. No, I'm kidding. All right, never mind.
He asked her. Jojen asked her. He was like, no matter what, this has to be done. Bran is the guy. You make sure you get Bran to wherever, to the tree people.
If I'm Mira, Bran goes to sleep and I walk away.
But Jojen told her that she's needed, and I mean, she's seen all this magic stuff at this point.
I'm joshing.
Okay. Anyways, Bran hopefully gets to Winterfell soon. I mean, there's only 7 episodes. We can't dilly-dally on him just being at the wall for no reason.
It's also, not. Winterfell's really close to the Watch, right? The Castle Black.
Yeah, it's a trek, but I mean, it's
Couple
closer
days
than
journey.
anywhere else on.
I bet you he gets there pretty. I bet you 2 episodes he's there.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Bran learned some very interesting knowledge about Jon's parentage, yet he doesn't feel necessary to send a raven. We got Sam sending ravens. You got everyone sending ravens to Jon. Bran's like, nah.
And Bran is a raven.
He can legit turn into a raven and
It's a
bring the
three-eyed
note.
raven, yeah.
I don't know. That's a plot hole. Game of Thrones sucks.
Okay.
Does it really matter where Bran is at this point? Because he's a warg.
The most interesting thing is that he needs to get to Winterfell.
For what
that
purpose?
To tell Jon that he's not who he thinks he is.
Jon's not going to be in Winterfell.
Also, I know, but
Exactly. The Starks have literally they're playing one big game of telephone tag. Where one person calls and then they goes
Right.
voicemail, and then
the thing is that okay. So imagine Bran comes to Winterfell, and Sansa already has a problem with Jon, but Bran comes, who is the actual heir to Winterfell.
Yeah.
How do you think people will react to that?
obviously it's not going to sit well, especially since he's paralyzed. I feel like that'll even it'll make people even more mad.
Yeah.
Especially
They're all about bloodlines. He can't have one of his own. I would think that they would be more on board with Jon or Sansa, both of them, over Bran.
Okay. Yeah, I also think Bran wouldn't want it either. Where you'd just be like, I'm gonna go grow in a tree like the other three-eyed raven did.
Yep.
maybe the tree in Winterfell,
Maybe.
the one with the face, right?
He's
No.
probably going to be spending a
Wait.
lot of this season underneath that tree. It feels
Whoa,
like
whoa,
it.
whoa. Never mind. Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. So then we go to Jon addressing the people,
Love that scene.
talking about how the wildlings, they need to go to Eastwatch by the sea. So, and then Tormund has that awesome line saying like, "We're the Night's Watch now."
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, you got them. And then, and then
Score one for the wildlings.
Jon also decides to let the Umbers and the other house, the
Karstarks?
Karstarks, yeah, allows their children to take up that house mantle. And then Sansa comes in and undermines him in the middle of...
Yeah, what's up with that? Like,
She's
just
Cerseiing. She is full on Cerseiing.
Well, the thing is with her too. Like, I actually like some of her statements made sense, but like, why would you say that in front of everyone? Like, talk to your brother, and well, not her brother, but talk to your what would it be? Her uncle, right? No,
Cousin.
Cousin. My bad. Talk to your cousin in private. Discuss the matters and not put him on full blast when he's in front of hundreds of people.
Sansa is like episode 2 Hayden Christensen.
Okay, and then one thing I'd like to point out...
It's a bit of a stretch.
One thing I'd like to point out about Jon is he still stands up, completely puts Sansa in her place, but then something's interesting is that you have that high table, and you have Davos and Sansa there, but he's the king, and he's not even up there. He's like among the people when he addresses them, and like every single scene that he has talking to him.
A true leader with pure charisma.
But then also, when you flash over to Dany, she's always on a throne high above someone else when she did.
Honestly, we'll get to it when we get to episode 2, but I don't like Dany as much as I did I think that's the way they're building it to be.
Different color palette. She's really taken on like a
Mad Queen?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like a mad queen.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's going to be some tension there too. Speaking of tension, Cersei and Jaime have a little bit of it. Jaime's very beaten up about Tommen dying, and then she's just like, yeah, you betrayed us.
Plus he's all about Brienne.
Yeah, I mean, but then Tormund's also about Brienne. We got a free-form love triangle action going
Everyone's
on.
about Brienne.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think... I don't know how much longer Jaime can... Because Jaime had such a good arc when he was with Brienne, and then he gets back, and then it's like everything got reset back to zero.
Cersei needs to die. Get her off the show.
That's absolutely not going to happen.
I know.
Cersei is going to be there till like the last episode.
Mm-hmm. Of this season.
You think?
I don't
Of
know.
this
I feel
season.
like they can't keep wasting time on this Iron Throne stuff when you got the Night's King coming down with 1 million dead people.
You don't think they're going to split it on 2 different wars? Like
They
the
might.
war within the war?
But I feel like that's what the season is supposed to be. Is that this is the war for the Iron Throne?
This is the war,
And then next season is
the end war.
Is the
when every
White
character
Walkers
dies.
versus so you think the Game of Thrones will be settled by this season?
I think there isn't going to be an Iron Throne by the end of the show.
They're gonna melt it down.
Isn't it still
make a
there in the
cannonball.
very first season when they're showing Dany's like I don't know if it's like a vision or what, but when she gets sent to Khal Drogo, and that's not even the first season. That's like way back when she meets the wizard.
It's second.
But whenever they're showing like a futuristic scape of the throne room, it's
Snow.
always snow,
Or
Empty.
ash.
roof's gone, everything's down, but the throne is still there.
Now, here's something very interesting about that vision. Is we have all this talk about her not wanting to be Queen of the Ashes and all this stuff. It could be snow, could be symbolizing that winter's in Westeros. The roof is gone. What I'm guessing is that she's going to try, get fed up with all of Cersei's stuff, go to King's Landing, use her fire stuff. It's going to blow up the wildfire stuff that's left under because they don't know about it. And then it's just going to cause a complete disaster. But what I think it symbolizes is that whole vision is that she gets close to the throne and she almost touches it, but then she turns around and she's immediately at the wall. So what I think happens is she goes to get this throne, but then immediately is thrown into the war with the White Walkers that she put off for so long.
Okay.
And John's probably going to be on a solo mission because no one listens to this guy, even though he's seen the apocalypse.
And then if you go and watch our trailer breakdown to our previous episode, that's what we talk about when John's out there battling. It seems like he's got a small group with him, and we may see that this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but something interesting happens because Cersei doesn't really have much allies in Westeros anymore, but she does bring along...
Hardly has Jaime.
Yeah.
Hardly, by a thread.
If you see like all of the people that are loyal to her when she's on the throne, it's like the Mountain, who's a reanimated corpse, Qyburn, who's only with her because she just lets him do whatever he wants, and then Jaime, who's like, I don't even know what's going on. But she brings in another threat, Euron Greyjoy, dressed up in his punk rock attire, and he's like, I'm going to bring you a gift, and then you're going to marry me. And we see what that gift is in the second episode, but...
So far, not too big of a fan of Euron.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they marketed it, like obviously it's second episode out of 7, but I saw on Twitter and stuff from a couple sources that people were saying Euron was going to be way worse than Ramsay. And I think Ramsay, the way he came into the show, was 100 times better than what we've seen from Euron so far.
This is why you don't go into it with expectations, though. You're reading too much online stuff.
I don't think Euron needs to be Ramsay, though. I think he can be his own thing. People seem to like Euron. He's like a villain, but people seem to like him because of something that happens in episode 2.
If you want to know who's going to be worse than Ramsay, look at who Sansa is going to be married to. Because all she does is ramp up to the next worst thing.
Now, do we think Sansa, because like she's a bachelorette now, she does, well, technically she's still married to Tyrion, right? Or
yeah.
I think the Boltons looked at it like, since they didn't consummate it, it's like annulled.
Okay.
But I don't know, because like that could be interesting. Like Tyrion's like, when he meets up with Jon, is like, how's my wife doing? Because it's like they're married. Imagine them ruling the 7 kingdoms. That would be something that no one expected. Tyrion and Sansa.
Is Tyrion just going to be a hand to everybody, or is somebody finally... Like, I really think that Lord Varys is pulling for Tyrion instead of Daenerys.
I think Lord Varys is just a man. That guy has... Even though he has no balls, he has balls. He, like, stands up to Daenerys in the second episode, just straight up tells her, like, yeah, if you start being an idiot, I'll betray you and find the next person that's...
He didn't instigate that. She put him in that situation.
I know, exactly.
He had no choice.
And then he's like, straight up, I'm looking out for the realm, and if you're bad for the realm, I'm going to change sides.
He's trying to find the best roller coaster. He's just going to ride the wave.
But little does he know, the best option is in the north.
He's going to know because that option is traveling south.
He's coming to Dragonstone.
Yeah.
Also, do you think Tyrion will jump ship? Or is he too deep as hand of the queen? Like, he'll see, like, he never expected Jon to be in a leadership role, and now he sees Dany getting a little crazy and starts not listening to him, even though he's the hand.
He likes them both. He's gonna try to unite forces.
We'll get. I have a theory, but we'll get to that in episode 2. So after Euron, we go back to Sam, and he's just scraping up poop and
he's doing this thing. I love the way that whole scene was edited.
That was good.
People on Reddit were definitely not liking that, but
It was not Game of Thronesy.
It was creative,
but it didn't like completely take me out of it either. Like there was definitely I haven't seen this before in Game of Thrones, but
I like it.
yeah,
It kind of just shows like what Sam's been going through, even though he thought he was going to help contribute to the end of the war, and then he's just sitting there doing nothing pretty much.
right.
I don't know. I thought
Being
it's
underused.
cool. I think Sam's going to be a huge player.
Especially after episode 2, what's going on over there. But we'll get to that once again.
We go back to Winterfell, and then we see Sansa and Littlefinger have a little discussion, and then Sansa completely burns Littlefinger with that line saying, like, no need to seize the last word. I'm sure it would be something clever.
Yeah.
And then he just bounces. It's like, Littlefinger, he has to have a plan, or else what a waste of a character, honestly. Because they set this guy up.
He does. He is the guy who plans.
I know,
That's
but
what
like
he does.
he better act on it soon. We got 7 episodes. Now that Jon's gone from Winterfell, maybe he'll step in. But Sansa
They'll
still
put it
doesn't.
in motion.
Sansa doesn't trust him though. If Sansa doesn't trust him, I think that's putting a flaw in the plan.
I'll be so disappointed if Sansa is quick to join forces with him again.
Yeah.
I'll be so disappointed because I truly want to see some conflict there. I used to like Peter, but now I just think he's just like always lurking. Like he's doing his thing now, and I've noticed that I don't like it.
He's always on the right side though, or the side that's winning. So really, if he takes an interest in Sansa and Jon, that speaks well for them up until the point that he betrays them.
For the next best thing, it's like. Also, we'll talk about it on episode 2. So then we go to see Arya going from the twins, and then she meets up with our boy Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was as bad as what people were saying.
People
I
were
did.
blown-
I
Why?
was, as much as the different things in Game of Thrones didn't take me out of it, that did. Because I sat there going, okay, I'm looking at Ed Sheeran right now, and it took me about 10 minutes to get over
They
that.
tried to work him in a lot of shots that he wasn't needed. Like he was blurred out in a bunch with his huge like Ed Sheeran face just right there. Which I mean, it was fine to me. I feel like the only person that can ruin the immersion for a movie or a TV show is the actual viewer itself. So I was indifferent about that, but people were roasting him on
he's off
social
Twitter
media.
now.
What he posted on Instagram, that wasn't because of that.
Okay.
But I mean, still, it went a little overboard with it. Just calm down. He was in it for like 5 minutes, and he had like 5 lines, and he sang for like 30 seconds.
Okay, here's my point. Here's my point of view on this whole thing. As I saw Ed Sheeran, I'm like, oh, it's Ed Sheeran, and then I just watched the scene because I watched interviews with all these people that are in Game of Thrones. I watched all these extra stuff. I've seen other movies where these people are in it, but it doesn't take me out every time I see them in Game of Thrones.
It just completely did for me. Like if I saw Bruce Willis come in and be a dragon trainer for an episode, I would think that's Bruce Willis.
What
not
about
a
that?
dragon
What
trainer.
about that one guy that? I forgot his name. He was in like Deadwood or whatever, and he was in one episode with the Hound when the Hound came back. He was like the priest. I was like, hey, I know
Oh,
that
Ian
guy.
McShane?
Yeah, and then I was just like, okay.
Ian McShane's an actor.
Okay, I went.
Bruce Willis is an actor.
Bruce Willis is not Ian McShane.
Me and Nate went and saw Dunkirk last week. Harry Styles was in it. Never took me out of watching that movie.
That's also a one episode movie. This is a realm. This is a reality that has been set up,
And he's in one scene.
And now you're throwing Ed
in-
Sheeran into this reality.
He's in a 4-minute scene out of an hour episode, and that's it. He's done. If
I
he
kn-
comes back, then I'll be a little upset. It was a small cameo.
I noticed it. I sat there looking at Ed Sheeran, not a member of the Lannister army.
Okay, fair enough. But what this scene shows is that Arya starts to see that not all Lannisters are bad, or I mean, at
Well,
this
they're
point,
young.
it's too. Yeah,
They're very young.
and at
so
this
they're-
point, it's too late. But maybe not all Freys were bad, but she just murdered that entire house.
Well, I mean, you guys better buckle up then, because isn't Conor McGregor in this season?
no,
No, I
they-
think they took his cameo.
no,
out.
no.
Okay, good. Because I saw
No.
that. Yeah.
And then Floyd Mayweather's on the other side of
Yeah.
it. They meet in the middle of the battlefield.
The true battle.
Okay, so then we cut to the Hound, and the Hound has a very interesting story going on right now.
Does.
You can kind of see Arya acting more like the Hound, and then the Hound acting more like Arya.
Yeah.
like when they were partners in
Yeah,
crime.
striking a balance.
But something interesting happens with the Hound where he looks into the fire and he actually sees something. He sees a mountain. He sees the wall, he sees a mountain, and he sees the army of the dead marching.
Yeah, and just before we move on from that, I just wanted to say that I think that they're doing a really good job. I can kind of notice it, but I think they're doing a really good job building up a connection for the viewers to these characters, such as what's his
Beric
name?
Dondarrion.
Beric Dondarrion, the Hound. Well, I've already had a connection to the Hound, and then also
Thoros.
Thoros of Mir, correct? I think they're doing a great job building up the connection so that when they do pass on, which I feel like it's kind of inevitable, it'll be a little bit more heartfelt. You'll feel it a little bit more, and I think they're doing a good job with that so far.
Yeah.
Just real quick about that fire, though, it has been established that that is not prophecy, right? Like that can go differently than what people have seen in the fire.
Everything that Melisandre's seen in the fire has come true.
Has it? I feel like there was a thing she was like,
well,
well
she,
listen, it
she
can be
saw
changed.
she saw Bolton banners fall at Winterfell, and she thought that Stannis was going to make them fall.
Okay.
But
So
instead,
just a
It was
misinterpretation.
Jon-
Exactly.
Jon
Okay.
Snow.
Got it.
But then we also see him dig the grave for the person that was in like season 4 when they went to their house. And that was kind of a throwback to the book where there's this theory that there's this character in the books that's a grave digger. And people think it's the Hound after the whole fight with Brienne and someone brought him back and he found religion and all that stuff. Very cool stuff. Interested to see where the Hound goes. We don't see him in episode 2, but should be interesting. Hopefully he teams up with Jon. Then we go back to Sam, and he discovers a little something after going into the forbidden section of the library. He finds
Quickly,
out,
too.
Yeah.
Like, he wastes no time
See,
at all.
Sam's changed, man. Sam wants to
Yeah,
get stuff
yeah.
done. But he sees that Dragonstone has a mine of dragonglass and instantly sends a raven to Jon, which helps broker this whole thing with him going to Dragonstone in the second episode. Dude, Sam's making plays.
Yeah,
Yep.
and we see Jorah's hand in that. I mean,
True.
it wasn't too crazy. I'm pretty sure it was in the trailer, wasn't it? One of the trailers. So that was kind of cool to see. And then we'll get into that in episode 2 with that bigger movement going in that storyline. But the Dragonglass thing, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of expected something like that to happen. That's
Well, I
the
mean,
whole-
they
literally
already
the whole
told- they already told
they-
us.
the viewers already knew, but it was kind of something that they just had to get out there within the actual show itself.
Yeah.
And then from the talk of Dragonstone, we instantly transition to Dany arriving at Dragonstone. She takes her time.
Dramatic walk.
Takes her time.
Big gates.
Peter Dinklage makes the easiest million that he's ever made, and then she says, "Shall we begin?" And then the episode ends.
Yeah, I really liked how they made that, how they paced it, that little scene.
That was, yeah.
Even though my love for Daenerys is kind of dripping away a little bit, I thought that was a really cool scene, and it's something that was good to end on.
When they're going in and taking in that room, everybody's just kind of dragging their hands over everything, turn around, face the camera. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
powerful. It was as good of an ending as it was a beginning. Solid,
Yeah.
rounded out episode.
Yeah, everyone, because a lot of people on the internet were like, "Oh, it's kind of slow." I thought this episode was going to be fast paced. This was fast paced for the first episode of a Game of Thrones season, because usually every single first episode is like setting up each individual character, what they're doing, but like they don't do anything. They're just sitting in a room talking, and
Plus-
that just sets up where they're going to go in the season.
Plus, I know Game of Thrones doesn't play by the rules of cliffhangers. Like, they don't leave you in the middle of a cliffhanger. They knock that out like an episode or the last episode earlier of a season, and then set up the next season.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
episode of Game of Thrones season is usually what would be the first one of the next season.
Minus season 5, if that's what you're talking about. Like for like in between season, are you saying like they don't end seasons with cliffhangers?
I'm
Think
saying
about
they
it.
generally don't cut in the middle of an action between seasons,
Like,
which is a common technique.
You have like Ned Stark dying. Like, imagine if the sword was going down, it went to black, and then you didn't know till, because that's something that The Walking Dead does, and people hate that. But like that was episode 9, so then
Yeah.
episode 10
Yeah,
they
yeah.
take and like play with that and say
yeah,
what's
that's
going
what
to
I was
happen.
thinking. Except
Right.
I was just saying, except season 5 where
John just dies.
John's dead.
Well, I mean,
Well,
but it
they
shows
showed
him
it.
dead.
Yeah. You're right.
There's a lot. I mean, there's also a lot going on in Game of Thrones. A lot more than usually goes on in other shows. There's more plot lines going on, so there's more to play with. But I mean, people should by now expect the first episode of the season isn't going to be a wrap up of the previous season. It's going to be It's
Yeah.
moving on. It's moving forward.
And I think a lot of stuff was very interesting in this one, especially like Arya killing House Frey, and then just seeing Daenerys finally in Westeros. Like, please, I've been waiting the entire show. Daenerys' storyline got super boring for like the past 2 seasons. Thank God she's back here. Still kind of boring in season 7 so far, but I feel like episode 3 will
Going to
change
the
that.
dark side. She is a dark Jedi.
Yeah, 100%. But that leads right into episode 2, where it opens up with Dany kind of talking to her council, and then it gets into some tension with Varys, where she kind of puts him on blast for supporting Robert, and then supporting the king before him, and then supporting all these people.
Hey, what do you want him to do?
Right.
Want him to die? Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Who hasn't broken an oath?
Just like the people.
Brienne. That's
yeah.
like it.
Literally, just like
John.
Just like the people who are
left the
complaining
Night's
about
Watch.
Theon.
Yeah, he left the egret too.
Just like the people that are complaining about Theon. Like, what do you want these people to do?
yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna be every episode's not gonna be filled with what like fan service, what you want these characters to do. They're gonna be their character within the show. How else would they react? I don't.
Dude, Varys, like, he's stepping up. He hasn't really been doing Varys stuff like last season at all. He's kind of just been sitting talking to Tyrion.
He's calmed down.
But now he's back to his sassy self, where he keeps telling people, "You're wrong. I'm right. I know what's going on. Just
Yeah.
listen to me." And then even when she's like, "Do you swear that you'll be completely loyal to me?" And he's like, "Yeah." I don't buy it for a second.
I do.
You do?
I do, because I feel like he has more of an air of truth about him since Littlefinger left. I feel like since Littlefinger took up that spot of conspirator in the north, now that in Westeros, or I'm sorry, King's Landing, that he has he's by himself now. He doesn't have another big player to hide himself from, and I feel like that has opened him up to be more himself.
Also, I feel like when he became such a dynamic duo with Tyrion since season 5 when they've been together, he's kind of just been just talk straight up to Tyrion what his entire plan is, what he's aiming for, all that stuff. But I love Varys. I'm glad he's back to talking back to people.
Why don't you marry him?
Sorry. Oh yeah, I know. That's been like that for the entire thing.
Okay.
And then Grey Worm somehow knows that the Red Woman's here. He's just standing there the whole time, and it's like, the Red Woman is here to see you.
Yeah, what was that? Why is
I
he
don't
just
remember that. What do
standing
you
in the
mean?
corner and all of a sudden
Grey,
he's like,
Grey Worm's just standing there, and then and then he goes I forgot what he says, Queen or whatever, and then Dany turns around and it's like, the Red Woman is here to see you. No one came in and told him. He's just sitting there on this information.
Yeah, he came in with that information,
And then just
decided
sat
something
there.
more important was coming on, went and stood in the corner, listened to all of that exposition.
Okay, I don't even remember that, but
But anyways, Melisandre comes in, says, Jon Snow's goat. You should bring him down here. Also, Azor Ahai thing, where they kind of tell the theory that a lot of people had already, where it's gender neutral, so it could be the prince or princess that was promised.
But who says that the prince rolls off the tongue better? Who says that?
Tyrion.
Tyrion?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
But Tyrion stands up for Jon, says he's a stand-up dude. You should invite him down. And then she also says, sounds like quite a man, Daenerys. So we'll see what happens there. But also, she makes one mistake because she tells Jon to bend the knee.
Yeah, what the
But
Yeah.
Tyrion,
what's up with her?
Tyrion
bro?
leaves it out.
She's going power hungry.
She's a
She's
power-
beyond.
she's on a power trip.
Yeah, she's beyond the slaving thing. She really is. She's becoming a mad queen.
Do you think, Mike, that she gets more slaves soon?
Slaves?
Yeah.
She's completely against slavery.
I know, I don't care. Do you think she gets slaves?
No, I think slavery remains her one redeeming quality, but I believe that she's on the path to darkness.
Okay, but anyways, so it goes from Tyrion vowing for Jon. He sends a raven over to Winterfell, and then Jon reads it and gives him that quote of that he said in episode 1 or whatever. And then Sansa.
All dwarves are bastards in
and
the
their
eyes of their father.
Yeah, and then something interesting is Tyrion leaves out the bend the knee thing in the Ravens. That could be an issue.
See, Tyrion was smart for putting that quote in
Because
there.
he knows if
he knows.
John heard that, he'd be like, no.
He's like, who's this?
But here's the thing. Jon Snow is really good at speaking, at giving speeches, and Daenerys is actually still okay at listening to them. So there's room there. There's room for
Yeah. I definitely think
compromise.
they'll come to some sort of compromise, but there will be some initial tension, and I hope it doesn't end with Jon just entering the room, and then just they stare at each other, and then the episode ends.
Okay.
Some of the Force Awakens stuff.
Here's my question. What is Sansa going to do in the north that's going to piss Jon off? Because she's going to do something. She's going to make some
Something
kind
with
of
Peter.
decision.
Something with Peter.
Something with Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the
next
only
up.
option.
I mean, we saw on the what's next or whatever they call it, the preview for the next episode. We see that dramatic walking away shot of Sansa by the tree, talking to some figure, comes next episode. So I think it's at this point it's got to be Peter, that figure she's talking to. We'll see though.
What if Peter is worse than Bolton?
That'd be interesting. But he's been in the show since the beginning, and there's been
That's
nothing
true.
to point towards. I mean,
That's true. He killed Lysa,
but she would deserve to die. Let's face
yeah,
it.
I mean, she really did. Robin, that kid doesn't stand a chance.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still kicking.
Oh, hopefully they just cut him out of the show.
But anyways,
he was like the Sand Snakes, honestly.
Kind
just
of.
get him out
but
of there.
like, yeah, Sansa. It kind of made me happy a little bit to like hear her stand up for Tyrion. Like Jon and Sansa were just like, Tyrion's a legit guy.
Right. And Tyrion standing up for Jon.
Mhm.
Everybody's kind of like, we know who good
Yeah,
people
they're
are
bad
now.
people on the
yeah.
And then it cuts to Cersei being a complete jerk, like always, saying that Dany has all these foreigners, tells a bunch of like half-truths where it's like she crucified these masters, but it was just because they crucified children, but she left that out conveniently. But someone interesting is there in Sam's dad, Randall Tarley.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaime kind of brings him aside and says a little something to him, saying, you better be loyal to Cersei. We'll make you warden of the South or something like that. So maybe that will come into play if, since Sam's obviously on Jon's side.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And then it cuts to Jorah has a little problem with the grayscale. It's out all over his chest now. Sam's...
It's over like half of his body now. It's got to be up there.
And the Archmaester says, like, we can't cure him. So he, like, gives him one last chance, one last day or whatever. And he writes a letter to Daenerys saying that he's sorry he couldn't find a cure, all this stuff. But then right after that, we just get thrown right into the deep end again with Qyburn, who said that they found something to kill the dragons. And it just turns out it's a ballista, which is pretty obvious. But
one dragon dies this season.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But he launches it, breaks the skull, goes right through the skull, which is another parallel between Cersei and Joffrey. Because Joffrey had that crossbow that he liked, and he shot it, and it went through the boar's head. And then she shoots her giant crossbow, and it goes to the giant's eye.
So that means she's going to be poisoned at her wedding to Euron.
Purple Wedding 2, confirmed. But did you guys expect, because I know when he said we're working on something to kill the dragons, I was like, oh, what kind of magic stuff is he bringing out now? But it's just a crossbow.
I honestly just envisioned a giant fucking crossbow.
Really?
It's really where I went.
I thought it was going to be like some bomb that you throw and it just completely like murders this
But
dragon.
hey,
burns
he
it
says
alive
that
or
they're mass
something.
producing it too, so they're going to have a bunch of them. There's no way a dragon's surviving.
Which is stupid. Oh my god, I hate Cersei.
Okay. From that, we go and we hear Tyrion's plan, because everyone wants to just charge on King's Landing now. Tyrion has that good line of like, Hilarious Sand says that we know how you fight or whatever, and then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't poison children here and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, get set in your place, Illyria. But Tyrion actually uses his brains and comes up with a cool plan. But as soon as you see a plan completely planned out in front of you, you know that's not going to come true. But he sends the Dornish back down to get like the Dornish army or whatever, and they're going to take Casterly Rock with the Unsullied, which is interesting because maybe Tyrion will now be the Lord of Casterly Rock, which is something that he's always wanted to.
God, that'll be awesome, especially with everything he's gone through with his own family.
But also in that fight for Casterly Rock, we're also probably going to lose Grey Worm because he has a little special time with...
The Tyrion Casterly Rock cannot happen with Cersei as queen. She will not let that happen.
I don't think she
Well,
has any say in it once they take
war.
it.
Yeah, that's that. Boom, wars started. Does what's she do?
Should kill herself.
Hopefully.
Anyway, Grey Worm. Yep, they set up a nice emotional thing so you can get a little bit more connected. Confirmed he's dead. I liked Grey Worm where he lasted, but he will not be missed. No, I'm kidding. He was fine, but
Yeah, Grey
was
Worm's
great.
an
Yeah,
interesting
he was
guy.
fine.
he was good. But I mean, he's not one of those characters that if he's dead, I'm gonna be like, dang, the show took a piece out of me, that kind of thing. Literally
then-
like a piece because he has a couple missing.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Too far.
so Olenna brings Dany aside and tells her to be the dragon, not to listen to these wise lords.
Yep.
Which is stupid. I liked her character too before that quote. Now I hope she dies. No,
Okay.
I'm joking. I'm taking it way too far. But I didn't really like that part of it. Like, come on.
It's just feeding her to be the Mad Queen, I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
We all think it's Cersei, but maybe Dany will be the Mad Queen. And then we go back to Sam. He's curing Grayscale. I thought he was like crumpling up dragon glass and putting it in the ointment, but I guess not. They like released like the page of the book that says the cure on it, and it's just a bunch of random stuff.
Okay.
You just have to peel off the skin, then place it on there.
Which I don't get why like none of the maesters are like, we have a solution.
I feel because it's too dangerous. Because imagine, it's a little gross, but imagine Sam is cutting into it, and then the pus squirts out, gets on his face. He's got Grayscale now.
Yeah, but the cure for Grayscale would just be to take that little piece off as soon as it shows up and then put some ointment on.
The thing is that once you have one person that has Grayscale and then more people get in contact with that person, it's just easier to throw them into the thing and just forget about them.
I feel like
That
it's,
I feel
disagree.
like
I'm
I
with
feel
Mike
like the
on- I'm on-
Maesters. No, but you guys are missing a key point. Is that
What's
we've
that?
seen the Maesters be completely selfish. Where if
Yeah.
it's not like Sam isn't like the other Maesters. Where like also Amon or whatever his name was, that Maester at Castle Black, he was very like Sam, where he's like looking out for the good of other people. And sure, they're kind of doing that, but that's their job, so they have to make sure they do that so they don't die. So as long as people come to them, they it's not their responsibility to cure these people. They just make sure that they have a quick death if they need it, or send them over to Valeria.
the Maesters are kind of like a union.
Yeah.
Where it's, you know, you really got to put in the time. If you have less time put in than anybody else, your voice is worthless, and they're only going to do the job they were prescribed and nothing beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, hopefully this brings Jorah back into the game. Some people think that the cure won't work, but I really like Jorah, and I hope he comes back.
Yeah,
but
praying for him.
yeah, but that leads into
Sam can't fail, right? He has to come back.
Sam.
Yeah, he can't fail on that. What would be the point of going through all this if he just ended up dying of Grayscale or whatever?
No. Sam's not gonna
Sam's
die.
fine.
What I
No,
think-
not Sam. Not Sam. Jorah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What I
yeah.
think is going to happen is he's going to cure Jorah, but then they're going to find out that Sam did that, so he's going to get kicked out. And then Jorah's going to bring Sam to Daenerys as like, this is the person that cured me.
John's gonna be there.
Everything's going to come together. Finally, we get Sam and Jon.
Dragons go to King's Landing, burn Cersei alive, end of show.
And then it cuts to the pie. And
Hot pie.
Beautiful transition right
Yep.
there. I literally couldn't tell at first. I was like, wait, are they is Sam eating this Grayscale? But it was so good.
Yeah.
Once again, people hated it on Reddit. I don't even care. It's so creative.
So Hot Pie's back. He says some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Arya completely acting like the Hound in this scene. But then she hears that Jon took back Winterfell, and she's like, why are you lying to me? And then Hot Pie's like, why would I be lying?
Why would I lie?
Why would I be lying about that? But so that causes Arya to kind of head towards Winterfell now instead of going to King's Landing.
And then John's leaving.
John's leaving.
I mean,
John's
but she'll
leaving.
be reunited with her real life best friend. So I'm honestly, I think I told you this. I'm kind of excited to see the dynamic with Arya and Sansa on screen together because they are best friends in real life. So I feel like
When's the
maybe
last
we'll
time-
bump up Sansa's acting skills a little bit, maybe some Arya's. So we'll get some Oscar performances in Game of Thrones.
When's the last time Arya and Sansa last met?
Season 1.
Yeah, King's all the way back before Ned's
been a
death,
while.
right?
But
been a while.
here's something you got to keep in mind with Arya, is right when she gets outside the doors of a place where her family ends up dying.
Or
She's heading to Winterfell, where Sansa might be in
Peter
some
Baelish
trouble.
murders Sansa.
And then, but
I think we landed on Sansa.
yeah. But anyways, Jon chokes. Here's a little interesting parallel in this episode too. For some reason, Littlefinger decides it's a good idea to go down to the Stark crypts.
Yeah,
Are you an
he's-
idiot? And then he says like, I love your sister more than I loved your mother, or something like that. And then he just choke slams him into the wall, kind
Yeah,
of similar to Ned's thing. But as soon as Littlefinger makes kind of a threat to his sister, Jon goes into action. When someone makes a threat to Theon's sister, he jumps off a boat. Okay, and then so Jon leaves Winterfell with like he's met with some resistance about this because they say that they can't trust a Targaryen, even though he's a Targaryen. Also, Jon knows that's not true because Aemon Targaryen at Castle Black can trust him perfectly fine. Anyways, Sansa starts yelling at him again. He's like, "Shut up! I'm leaving you in charge." She's like, "Oh," and then so Jon leaves with
Literally.
Davos.
She's like, wait, okay, yeah.
He's heading to Dragonstone, get some dragon glass, maybe talk to Dany a little bit. Something interesting though is Melisandre is at Dragonstone and Davos is going with Jon.
conflict.
Melisandre's dead.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
You think he'll forgive it?
I mean, there'll definitely be some conflict there, but like, she is kind of like the bridge. I feel, isn't she? She's the one that sees
I mean, she's
everything.
connecting everything. Yeah.
Plus,
Everything's happened. Like, people know that. Like, everything's happened that she said, except she lost some credibility with the whole Stannis thing.
she made a wrong move with this whole Stannis phase, and then
Yeah, now but it still came true. But then she was like, wait,
I decided to burn a 4-year-old.
I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about that. That was terrible.
well, okay, but here's the thing though with the Lord of Light is, and this is what I don't like about people coming back from the dead, is now every death means nothing for everyone fighting for the Lord of Light, because they can just be brought back.
Not true.
Not true. They
He
are only brought back
picks
if the
if-
Lord of
yeah.
Light needs them.
Yeah,
and I
but
think
obviously he needs her.
I think John's the only one that will be resurrected. Because I
Again,
feel
if it happens.
Barrick's only been resurrected this many times because when they go north of the wall, Barrick's going to use his last life to give to John
How many
again.
does he have? I hate this.
Because
I
he-
hate.
He's needed for that battle. So everything before this, when he's died, the Lord of Light has brought him back for that battle. Once he dies at that battle, he's
done.
Can we talk about the fact that Lord of the Light is the only god making plays right now? Like, where's
What
the
about the
Faceless-
faceless god?
The faceless god.
or whatever.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. Yep.
So then
Yeah.
we see the storm god, just completely destroy all of the Greyjoy's fleet going down to Dorne. Euron just hops off ship and kills everyone.
That whole scene was a little choppy. There's so much going on, and like you couldn't even. It got to the point where that person was hanging off the front of the boat, and it took me like 10 seconds to realize who that was. I thought it was Yara at first. I thought Yara was hanging
who
from
is
the
it?
boat.
I
It was
think
one
if
of
you
the
had
sand snakes with the whip, right?
Yeah, I think if you use your brain, you were able to figure it out because it's the person that used the whip. It's the 2 sand snakes that died around the front.
The editing of that scene wasn't as great. Do not talk to me.
No, I'm just saying that people thinking that it was Yara hanging off.
You're telling me that everything in that scene was easy to understand and see.
When did I say everything? I said this. The person
I don't
hanging
care.
hanging
I don't
off the
care.
front of the boat
What
with
you're
a whip
saying-
is
no.
obviously.
What you're saying to me, I hate.
Okay. Well, anyways, Theon jumps ship after he sees people getting tortured.
Goes
People-
all reek on it.
People were stupid about that. He saw people getting their body parts removed. If Theon runs towards Euron with his sister
Yeah,
in
sister's
his-
dead. Theon's dead. Everyone's dead.
Everyone's dead. What is
Also, PTSD is a real thing, guys. Like this guy's been tortured like super hard.
Yeah, but it didn't speak well for his state of mind, because
yeah.
he could have looked at her and said maybe like later, or kind of winked at her and been like, I'll come back. No, he went full on,
like-
wide-eyed, dilated pupil, just jumped into the water. I'm
Which
gone.
gives her the wrong impression, but it's still the right thing to do.
I think he
Yeah.
didn't mean to do the right thing, but he did.
Right.
Also, a little interesting fact is that Euron's ship is called Silence, and you see people cutting out the tongues. It's because everyone on his crew doesn't have any tongues, so they can't talk back against him.
That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
you told me that one. I
Come on.
like that. That's kind of an
Come on,
interesting
Euron.
little back thing. But
But yeah,
That's
and
overkill.
That's the end of the episode.
You said you said. No. I'm going to call you out. You said that this they did that because it's a reason or a way they won't mutiny against him.
yeah, he doesn't want them to talk back to him.
Okay, talking back, I get mutiny is absolutely still on the table.
No, I
Without
feel
a
like
tongue.
people are
tongue.
scared of Euron, so they won't mutiny against him.
You could just castrate them, then they have no
Well,
testosterone.
the Unsullied. Well, Grey Worm had a lot of testosterone in that one scene. I'm just gonna say that real quick. But anyways, something that I want to run through this episode is the transitions in it were excellent, and I feel like this shows how far Game of Thrones has come connecting all these storylines. And I'm just gonna run through these things. Thanks to Reddit user Dark Aardvark posted this on Reddit, and I feel it's super awesome, and you guys will probably get your mind blown a little bit.
I'm ready.
So the episode starts off with Dany inviting Jon to bend the knee, instantly cuts to shots being fired at a target that might as well have the letter to it saying bend the knee to Jon. Cuts right back to Jon in Winterfell, instantly him dealing with that whole problem. Also, you have Jaime talking to Rando Tarly, and the last thing he says to him is, "I can think of no man better than Rando Tarly." Instantly cuts to Sam Tarly at the Citadel. Also, something interesting is that Jaime's talking to Rando Tarly about loyalty, and then it cuts to Sam being super loyal to the House of Mormont because Gior, or however you pronounce his name, was his Lord Commander. So he's going to make sure that his son survives because
Yeah.
he's super loyal. Something interesting there. Also, Sam fades to black when he walks out of the room of the Citadel, and then Qyburn emerges from the darkness because he was kicked out of the Citadel, and he's kind of working in that dark area that the Macers don't want people working. And then a bolt goes through the dragon's head, instantly cuts to the Mother of Dragons, which those bolts are aimed at. Then you get the surgery from Sam cut into the pie, which we already kind of said that was pretty sweet. And then you have Arya riding north, and then it cuts to a map of the north where Jon's right hand is covering her path that will lead them to Winterfell, and his left hand is on a place called the Neck, where he's about to go choke Littlefinger in the next scene. And then Grey Worm's sexy scene happens, and then it cuts to a hand in the book. That one was kind of clever too.
Cool, yeah.
And then finally, Arya. This is a little something. Arya's kind of like Nymeria scene happens, and then it cuts to the Sand Snake and Nymeria talking. Game of Thrones knows how to connect all these 55 plot lines they have going on at once.
Impressive.
It seems like it's getting. I mean, is it getting easier? Are there more or less plot lines right now in the first season? Because characters are getting introduced, but so many are getting killed off too.
First season was different though because for what?
It was King's Landing, Dany, Wall.
I mean,
Winterfell.
Let's- okay, let me-
three episodes. They were all. Everyone was like basically in the same place.
Expand that. Let's expand it to like let's split it in half. The first half of what we've seen so far versus the last half of what we've seen. Are plots getting more complicated or less? Because
It's definitely less because this is the end. Like last season was probably the less complex season of Game of Thrones, but it's the first season that I was actually thinking that maybe the show will end because every other one, like when you're watching season 4, you're like, there is a million moving pieces right now. How is this ever going to wrap up? But now it's actually starting to wrap up. But of course, you got to sacrifice like all this complexity that Game of Thrones had from. But I don't know. Let's count. We have Arya's storyline. We have Cersei's storyline. We have Jon's storyline. We have Dany's storyline. We have
Jaime's.
Sam's. But Jaime's with Cersei right now. So it's cut between 5 different ones
okay, yeah,
from this episode at least.
okay.
And then eventually it goes to like 6 because you got to cut to the Dorne people. And then I don't know. I just think it's impressive how they keep it all kind of coherent going between all these storylines. When another show that had this many characters that are kind of like, there's a bunch of main characters in the show, and I feel like they balance it pretty well.
It is impressive, and the writers, David Benioff and what is it, DB Weiss. They already have a job after the show, and they'll definitely get a lot more jobs because it's impressive with what they've done with this whole show.
But it's also kind of directing as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but still, it takes a lot to write something this coherent when there's over 5 storylines in one episode. It's
True. I remember they definitely have gotten better at keeping up with all of the storylines within a compact amount of time because it used to be you forgot about a storyline for 8-9 episodes. You didn't see anything about it. Now we're kind of jumping around a little bit.
I mean, hopefully this episode kind of, they said season 7 is super fast paced, and I mean Cersei drew first blood, so hopefully in the next episode we start to see the war actually start.
And before we wrap this up, do you guys think Bronn is back next episode?
Yeah, I also think Bronn will die this season.
Which is sad, but
Heroically.
Yeah, he'll die to a dragon after killing like a million
Right.
people and be like, what happened? How could this happen? A dragon? And then he dies. Yeah, Bronn, we haven't seen anything from him in a while. He's not super important to the end. I like him, but he's out.
It's a sellsword.
The thing I'm most looking forward to next episode is Jon and Dany meeting. Hopefully we get to see them actually talk instead of it just cutting. But
yeah, they better not. They better not Force Awakens us.
Yeah.
Who is in his traveling party? Because we established through the trailers that maybe it was Jon Snow coming up with that. What was it, like 8 or 9 people?
Yeah,
just
but I think it's
Davos
Davos and a bunch of like
names.
soldiers. Yeah.
Just random, no names?
I think Davos is the main guy that's with him.
So he doesn't meet up with anybody on the way, you think?
Maybe he sees Arya. I don't know.
A little drive-by wave.
Deuces. Also, but hey, maybe because Melisandre said that she'd see Arya again. That'd be a way for them to see each other.
Complete that little Lord of Light thing.
Maybe Arya meets up with Sansa. Sansa says Jon went over here, and then she chases him down.
And then Jon leaves, and then she ends up on Dragonstone with Dany. Jon's not there because that's all. They're never meeting up again, Jon and Arya. They're never meeting up again. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the We Know Nothing podcast. We'll be back for episodes 3 and 4, and until then, adios.
Thank you.
Wait.
What?
A dragon is going to become a White Walker.
Oh, yeah. I think a dragon's going to die and then be brought
Okay.
back.
Thank you.
Bye.